Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we're gonna do this stitch. I think it's a very nice stitch to do a shawl, like the wedding shawls. You can do blouses, you can do whatever you like with this. The stitch is reversible, front and back the same. It's one row repeat, very easy. But well, it's gonna eat a lot of yarn, so if you wanna do a blanket with this stitch, or even a wrap or a shawl, it's gonna take a lot of yarn. Now depends the size of the yarn. Okay, this stitch works with multiples of 5. So I chain here multiples of 5. What we're gonna do, we're gonna skip 6 chains from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the 7th chain from the hook, yarn over the hook, we're gonna go into the 7th chain and we're gonna start to do a puff stitch. So pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, go back again into the same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, go back again, pull up a loop. You should have 8 loops without the chain. Yarn over the hook and go back again and pull up a loop. So you should have 8 loops. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn through all these 8 loops. You have the chain and the other chain on the loop on your hook. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn through the last 2 loops. And now yarn over the hook. We're gonna go back into the same chain where we did this puff stitch, and we're gonna do 4 double crochets. So go back again into the same chain and do a double crochet. Yarn over the hook, go back again and do 3 more double crochets. So in one chain you're gonna have a puff stitch and 4 double crochets, which means you're gonna have to be very careful with the next chain, because we put so many in one chain that the next chain that you have to start skipping, it's gonna pull. So we're gonna skip 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th chain we're gonna do the same. Yarn over the hook, go into that 5th chain, pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, go back again, pull up a loop. So you're gonna do like this 4 times. 4 times you're gonna put the yarn over the hook, and 4 times you're gonna go into the chain and pull up a loop. So you have 8 loops. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn through all those 8 loops. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn to the last 2. Yarn over the hook, we're gonna go back into the same chain where we did this puff stitch, and we're gonna do 4 double crochets. So 1, go back again into the same chain, do the 2nd double crochet, and so on. You're gonna do 4 double crochets in that chain. Yarn over the hook, and we're gonna do like this until the end of the row. We're gonna skip 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th we're gonna start doing a puff stitch first. You have 8 loops on your hook. Grab the yarn through all those 8 loops. You have 2 loops on your hook. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn to the last 2. Yarn over the hook, and we're gonna go back into the same chain where we did this puff stitch, and we're gonna do 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're gonna be left with 3 chains at the end. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over the hook, skip the next 2 chains, and in the last chain we're gonna do 1 double crochet. And you always, when you finish the row, you're gonna chain 3. 1, 2, and the 3rd chain, leave it a little bit loose if you work too tight. Turn your work, yarn over the hook, and now we have the 4 double crochets here and the puff stitch in one chain. So the 1st double crochet we're gonna skip. So we're gonna work in between the 1st and 2nd double crochet. So yarn over the hook, go in the space between the first double crochet and the second, and we're gonna do a puff stitch. And you're gonna do like this. You put the yarn over the hook 4 times, and 4 times you're gonna go inside and pick up a loop. So you have 8 loops on your hook. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn through those 8 loops. Grab the yarn and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops. Yarn over the hook, we go back into the same space where we did this puff stitch, and we're gonna do 4 double crochets. 1, go back again into the same space and do 3 more double crochets. It's just 1 row repeat, is very easy, but I think it looks really nice for like a wedding shawl or something like that. So we did the 4 double crochet, then we're gonna skip the next 2 double crochet and the puff stitch. Well, we skip the 3, 1, 2, 3 double crochets and the puff stitch. So you're gonna move to the next, let's just say you move to the next cluster. So you have the first double crochet here. So yarn over the hook, you're gonna go between this double crochet, the first one and the second, into this space here. So you're gonna start with a puff stitch. So you have 8 loops, pull the yarn through all those 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, and now in the same space where we did this puff stitch, we're gonna do 4 double crochets. And this is the row that you're gonna repeat on and on and on. Yeah, but I think with the thin yarn looks nice. With the thick one, not such a big fan. So you move to the next cluster, you skip this 3 double crochet and the puff stitch, and you move to the next. You skip the first double crochet, and in the space between the first double crochet and the second, you're gonna start with a puff stitch. And you're gonna do like this until you have 8 loops, then pull the yarn to the 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2 loops, and then in the same space we're gonna do 4 double crochets. Okay, 1 more double crochet. And now you reach the end. So we have the chain 6 that we skipped in the beginning. Yeah. So yarn over the hook, you're gonna go on top of the last chain, and you're gonna do there a double crochet. Okay, then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work, and you're gonna do the same. You're gonna repeat the row. So you have the, let's say, the 4 double crochet, the puff, let's say the cluster. So you're gonna work always in between the first and second double crochet, the space in there. So yarn over the hook, skip the first double crochet, go into that space there, and do the puff stitch. Pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, pull up a loop, and you're gonna do like this 4 times until you have 8 loops. Pull the yarn to these 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, and in the same space we're gonna do 4 double crochets. Now it's easy, it's relaxing, doesn't need much concentration or attention. Well, you might miss to do the 4 double crochets. Sometimes you might put 3 or you might put 5. So again, yarn over the hook, you move to the next cluster, let's say, skip the first double crochet, and in the space between first and second double crochet, you're gonna do a puff stitch. Pull the yarn through all those 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, yarn over the hook, and in the same space where we did this puff stitch, we're gonna do 4 double crochets. And you move to the next, let's say the last cluster of the row, yarn over the hook, and again you skip the first double crochet, and in the space between the first and the second, you're gonna do first the puff stitch. You choose to do how high you want the puff when you pull the loops. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. So you do like this, and then you're gonna do 4 double crochets in that space where you did that puff stitch, and that's about it. So 1 more double crochet, and you reach the end, and you have the chain 3. So always from now on you're gonna go on top of the 3rd chain. So this is the first chain, second and third, this one. So yarn over the hook, you go on top of the 3rd chain, pull up a loop and do a double crochet. And then you're going to chain 3, leave this one loose a little bit. It's going to look like this. So you're going to start again, yarn over the hook, you skip the first double crochet, and in the space here between the first and the second, you're going to start with a puff stitch. You're gonna do like this, on and on, until you finish your project. And in the same space where we did this puff stitch, you're gonna do 4 double crochets. And that's about it. But like I said, I think it looks really nice, and you can see the design very nice with thin yarn. With the thick one, it kind of loses the look. So again, yarn over the hook, you're gonna move to the next cluster, let's say the 4 double crochet and the puff stitch, and in between the first and the second, you're gonna go in there and gonna do a puff stitch. You have 8 loops, pull the yarn to the 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, yarn over the hook, you go back into the same space, and you do 4 more double crochet. I think I'm gonna do this row when I finish. One more double crochet. Yeah, it might happen that sometimes, depends, if you are busy or you think of many things, you might put 3 double crochet, or you might put 5, so you're gonna have to be careful with, make sure that it's, there are 4 double crochets. So you reach the last cluster, let's say, yarn over the hook, you're gonna skip the first double crochet, and in the space between the first and second double crochet, you're gonna do a puff stitch first. Pull the yarn to the 8 loops, pull the yarn to the last 2, yarn over the hook, you go back into the same space here, and do 4 double crochets. Okay, and now you reach the end, and you skip this 1, 2, 3 double crochet, the puff stitch, and you have the chain 3 at the end. So yarn over the hook, you go on top of the 3rd chain that you did there, and do a double crochet, and then you're going to chain 3, and you're going to start again. You turn your work, it's going to look like this. So the first double crochet you skip, you go in the space between the first and the second, and you do first the puff stitch, and in the same space you're gonna do 4 double crochet, and so on. I don't know, I might be wrong, but with the thick yarn it loses the design. It doesn't look so nice. Now depends on the color. This is kind of dark, the gray, but this is kind of thick in comparison, to look at this yellow. So I think with the thin yarn looks much nicer, and you can see the design really nice. And if you want to have more space for whatever, to be more open work, you can work with the bigger crochet hook. This sample, the yellow one, I did it with 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. The yarn is, well, thin enough, but this gray one I did with 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. I can go with 4, but it's going to be a little bit tighter. So, well, if you like to do this stitch for a shawl or a blouse, or even a blanket, if you like, well, the edges are alright. If you want to put border, like always I say, you have the chain 3 here, so you can attach the border if you like to. Yeah, it's really nice, this stitch. It's nice that it's one row repeat, it's reversible, so give it a try. Well, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.